Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Ram.
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram.
Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.
Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna, Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Ram Ram.
Ram, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram.
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna, Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare Ram, Hare
Ram Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare,
Ram,
Hare
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 Hare.
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna, Hare
Ram Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare.
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare, Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram.
Ram, Ram Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare.
Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyev च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, assembled devotees ki jai. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas College Station, welcoming all of you to Bhakti Sangha conference call. I thank all of you for attending this session. Please forgive me for interrupting your ecstatic chanting. I would like to read the 10 offenses to the holy name which are to be avoided, written by Srila Vyasadeva in Padma Purana. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. Second, to consider the name of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal or to be independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. Third, to disobey the order of the spiritual master. Fourth, to blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance to the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activity karmakanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not to have a complete faith in chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachment even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve desired success of Krishna Prema. Once again, I thank everyone for joining today's Bhakti Sangha conference call. May I know who all joined this morning?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. This is Yashamati Priya Devidasi from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yeshumati Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for joining and chanting so beautifully. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga and all the glories to the assembled devotees. This is Manjri Leela Devidasi from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Manjari Leela Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your association every day. Welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी दंडवत प्रणाम श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय प्रीति दासी फ्रॉम शार्लोट हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna, Priti Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for joining and thank you for sharing your picture with Komadiki Mataji. Nice to see that, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी हरे
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devidasi from Elko.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Karuna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your wonderful services, Mataji. Welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. This is Radha Pyari Devidasi from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Radha Pyari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for joining every single day, giving your sweet association. Welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vanita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Vrinda from Atlanta.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gopika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every day, giving your association. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj and all the assembled devotees on the call. This is Harita from Missouri City, Texas, Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Harita Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for joining every day, chanting so beautifully. Welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada. All glories to all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Sukha-sagari. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Sukha-sagari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for joining every day, giving your sweet association. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you this morning. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have Her Grace Sukha-sagari Mataji to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 15th chapter, 42 verse. Before I hand over the call to Sukha-sagari Mataji, I request Her Grace Preeti Vilasni Mataji to take over from here and give a brief introduction. Hare Krishna. Over to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to introduce Her Grace Sukha-sagari Mataji to all of you. Her Grace Sukha-sagari Mataji is a disciple of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. She has been in Krishna consciousness for over 2 decades. She likes singing kirtans and bhajans for the Lord. She is also very well read in Srila Prabhupada's books and gives beautiful classes. Some of her popular, most watched classes are the Bhagavad Gita series and the Sundarakanda part of the Ramayana. She has multiple services in the Houston temple on a regular basis. She cooks for the deities Sri Sri Radha Neelamadava in Houston. And she also conducts many Bhakti Vriksha programs along with her husband in Houston. She is an active participant of Bhakti Sangha classes. She logs into each and every call in Bhakti Sangha, which includes the morning, mid-morning, evening, children, etc. She logs into almost all the calls. She teaches bhajan to the youth. And she was one of the favorite teachers of the summer camp. And she also does outreach Bhagavad Gita classes, Chaitanya Charitamrita classes, Chaitanya Bhagavat classes, Srimad Bhagavatam classes, as well as the Wednesday Prabhupada most quoted verses classes. She helps devotees memorize the most quoted verses of Srila Prabhupada. So she has an array of services. I'm very, very honored to have this opportunity to introduce Mataji to all of you. Looking forward to Mataji's presentations. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Preeti Vilasni Mataji, for the brief introduction. Thank you, Sukha-sagari Mataji, for your association this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Eagerly waiting to hear from you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity. This is an opportunity to purify myself. And I'm not sure if that was a brief introduction. It went on, and I'm not sure I deserve all those words that Preeti just spoke. I'm just doing something very, very menial and nothing much, actually. I mean, she's just, I don't know, Preeti thinks that I do a lot, but that's not really very true. So, but I sincerely thank Nita Mataji and all the devotees, the organizers, for giving me this opportunity to actually purify myself and also look deeper into the Bhagavatam. Yes, I admit I've been logging on to the classes, but sometimes I'm only there on Zoom, but mentally somewhere else. So this class helped me to delve deeper and also study, in the real sense. So please bless me that I can present something of value to everybody that glorifies the Lord today. And so with those words, we'll move on. I'll quickly share my screen. I hope you're all able to see my screen.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah. So we are going to be discussing the 42nd verse of the 15th chapter, the last chapter from the 7th canto, the Science of God, which discuss, so far we've seen the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, and then it also segues into what are the characteristics of a good human being, like a living entity who needs to perfect their life. What should they be doing? And so the discussion goes that way, and we will delve into it sooner. And before that, I'd like to chant the Mangalacharan verses. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapreshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. So today we'll just go over the verse for today and the translation and the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So Akshram dasha pranam adharma dharmau chakre bhimanam rathinam cha jivam dhanurhi tasya pranavam pathanti sharam tu jivam parameva lakshyam Akshram dasha pranam adharma dharmau chakre bhimanam rathinam cha jivam dhanurhi tasya pranavam pathanti शरं तु जीवं परमेव लक्ष्यम् अक्षं दश प्राणम् अधर्मधर्मौ चक्रेऽभिमानं रथिनं च जीवं धनुर्हितस्य प्रणवं पठन्ति शरं तु जीवं परमेव लक्ष्यम् I don't think I got the word forward, but let me just quickly grab it. The synonyms are Aksham, the spokes on the chariot wheel, Dasha, 10, Pranam, the 10 kinds of air flowing within the body, Adharma, irreligion, Dharma, religion, two sides of the wheel, up and down, Chakre in the wheel, Abhimanam, false identification, Rathinam, the charioteer or master of the body, Cha also, Jivam, the living entity, Dhanuhu, the bow, he indeed, Tasya, his, Pranavam, the Vedic mantra Omkara, Pathanti, it is said, Sharam, an arrow, Tu, but Jivam, the living entity, Param, the Supreme Lord, Eva, indeed, Lakshyam, the target. So, the translation goes as follows. The 10 kinds of air acting within the body are compared to the spokes of the chariot's wheels, and the top and bottom of the wheel itself are called religion and irreligion. The living entity is in the bodily concept of life, is the owner of the chariot. The Vedic mantra, Pranava, is the bow. The pure living entity himself is the arrow, and the target is the Supreme Being. So we see that the concept of a bow, the arrow, and a target is being introduced in this verse. Let's move on to the purport. I'll appreciate if any devotees are inspired to read the purport. I hope you're able to see my screen and it's, you can
Yes,
read.
Mataji, we can see us.
Yeah, and I hope it's zoomed enough for you to read clearly.
Sure, Mataji.
Thank
Param
you.
Bhavani Mataji has raised her hand.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear Mataji. Srila Bhagavad by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. 10 kinds of live air always flow within the material body. There they are called prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana, naga, kurma, krala, and Devadatya and Dhananjaya. They are compared here to the spokes of the chariot's wheel. The life air is the energy for all of a living being's activities, which are sometimes religious and sometimes religious. Thus, the religion and irreligion are said to be the upper and lower portions of the chariot's wheel. When the living entity decides to go back home, back to Godhead, his target is Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. There's more to the purport. If anybody else wants to read, or
Hare
Can
Krishna,
we read
Mataji.
please go ahead, Mataji. Who is inspired? The four slides of the purport. So.
Okay.
Okay, Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
No,
Hare Krishna.
please go.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. In the conditioned state of life, one does not understand that the goal of life is the Supreme Lord. Na te viduhu swartha gatim hi Vishnum durashraya ye vahir artha maninaha. The living entity tries to be happy within this material world, not understanding the target of his life. When he is purified, however, he gives up his bodily conception of life and his false identity as belonging to a certain community, a certain nation, a certain society, a certain family, and so on. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tat parvartena nirmalam. Then he takes the arrow of his purified life and with the help of the bow, the transcendental chanting of pranava or the Hare Krishna mantra, he throws himself towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Thank you so much. There's one more page, two more pages.
Hare Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura has commented that because the words bow and arrow are used in this verse, one might argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity have become enemies. However, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead may become the so-called enemy of the living being, this is his chivalrous pleasure. For example, the Lord fought with Bhishma, and when Bhishma pierced the Lord's body on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, this was a kind of humor or relationship of which there are 12. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. I can maybe read the last part of the purport. When the conditioned soul tries, okay, Manjari Leela Mataji, please go ahead. Sorry.
Hare Krishna, no worries, Mataji, thank you. When the conditioned soul tries to reach the Lord by hurling an arrow at him, the Lord takes pleasure and the living entity gains the profit of going back home, back to Godhead. Another example given in this regard is that Arjuna, as a result of piercing the Adharamina, or the fish within the chakra, achieved the valuable gain of Draupadi. Similarly, if the arrow of chanting the holy name of the Lord one pierces Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, by dint of performing this heroic activity of devotional service, one receives the benefit of returning home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. We see how beautifully, when we read the translation, it's very pithy, or in some sense, very technical too. If we see this, there's a simile given of a chariot wheel and the chariot, and a bow and an arrow and things like that. But we see in the purport how Srila Prabhupada has very beautifully explained the different aspects of the of the verse. He's like literally broken down what the 10 kinds of life air are, and also what the actual goal of the human life should be. And also he has drawn from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura's commentary, which further gives some more insights into this verse. So before we start discussing more, and as we can see, this is a little technical, this verse, or in some sense, many factual points are drawn from other parts of Srimad Bhagavatam. So the class may be a little there, but let's try to understand our best, from what the acharyas have given us. So I'd like to start off with a brief recap, and this is totally for myself in some ways, or somebody like me who's joining after a long time, or trying to understand what the flow of thoughts are here. So we saw, in this canto, beginning off in the canto, we've seen the pastimes of how Prahlad Maharaj, how Hiranyakashipu is actually killed, and how Prahlad Maharaj's glorious nature comes to the fore. And when Yudhishthira Maharaj, he hears about this Prahlad Charitra, he is very pleased with the characteristics, the devotional characteristics of Prahlad Maharaj. And so he asked Narada Muni as to what is the actual religion or actual dharma of a human being and what it should be. So at that time, Narada Muni explains to him, and he starts off with the Varnashrama system. Like the Varnashrama system is a system that actually regulates the human form of life. As human beings, we have several desires, and we would not be a living entity if we didn't have these kind of desires, or our own identity, so to speak. And we follow a personal form of religion in some sense, where we are not trying to negate or move into a void, so to speak, but we're trying to express ourselves, we're trying to be our own selves, but then dovetail everything in Krishna consciousness. So we do not totally void ourselves and say, hey, I don't want to have any desires, I don't want to have any dreams, or I don't want to have any aspirations. So no, then we would be considered to be kind of dead in that sense. So the living entity always has desires. That's the basic quality of the living entity. But we're trying to dovetail all our desires to please the Lord, in which by way of doing this, we are actually getting all our desires fulfilled too in the process. So as Krishna takes care of all our desires too, and so we don't have to worry much about anything. The example analogy is given of how a parent, when the child is little, the parent takes care of all the needs of the child. Like, for example, not only the physical needs of the child, like feeding them, or even, giving them clothing and proper care and things like that, but also the educational needs of the child, the emotional needs of the child, the social needs of the child. Parents worry that do my children have enough friends? Do they have a good social circle? Are they able to interact nicely in public? And there's so many thoughts as a parent, right? I mean, we try to do so. But then the child is very relaxed, or the child is very peaceful, because he or she is sure that the parent is taking care of all the needs. And they just are so obedient to their parents, so at that time they're fully taken care of. So similarly, when we approach the Lord with this kind of surrender, that the Lord is going to be taking care of all our needs, then he definitely does. Though we may think that I'm doing something, like this is something I did, or I achieved, or I try to do in my life, but it's actually the Lord who is providing us ultimately with everything. So yeah, sorry for the digression there. So in the starting from chapter 11, the 4 varnas, or the social classes, are discussed, and then the 4 spiritual classes are discussed, the ashramas, like and then in chapter 13 and 14, does anybody recall what are discussed? Sorry, I don't mean to wake you up all so early in the morning, but if anybody is inspired to speak. Yeah, so in chapter 13, the sannyas ashrama is discussed, and also how a Paramahamsa or an Avadhuta, how he or she behaves is discussed in more detail. And chapter 4 again delves into the Grihastha ashrama. What are the duties of a person who is in Grihastha ashrama? How he or she, like Yudhishthira Maharaj says, but for a person in Grihastha ashrama who is not like a sannyasi who is always, thinking about God, so what can he or she do to actually make their life successful? And then a lot of discussion goes on as to how a grihastha must lead their life. And towards the end of chapter 14, we see that Prabhupada mentioned in the verses that because of material contaminations, what happened was sometimes exalted Vaishnavas were disrespected by other minor Vaishnavas. When great saintly persons saw this contamination, they introduced worship of deity in the temple. This began in the Treta Yuga and was especially prominent in Dwapara Yuga. But in Kali Yuga, worship of deity is being neglected. Therefore, chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is more powerful than deity worship. So he emphasizes towards the end of the last chapter, 14th chapter, how it is important to respect Brahmanas or Vaishnavas, in that sense. And so the next chapter, the chapter now we are studying about, the chapter 15, it deals with the importance of, respecting Brahmanas. And so there is a classification of the different kinds of Brahmanas with respect to the 4 social classes. So it is described in this chapter, and we see coming further down, narrowing down on what a verse is for today, we see that the verse number 41 is the key or the turning point verse in this flow of verses in chapter 15, where Prabhupada says, the human form of body is meant for understanding the self and the supreme self, the supreme personality of Godhead, both of whom are transcendently situated. So the human being, so if a person uses it in the right way, what does he gain? And if he uses it in the wrong way, what happens is explained in these further verses starting from 41 onwards. So we see that there is a segue of thoughts here or ideas here, which actually, starting with the 4 different classes of Brahmanas, it segues into what the actual goal of human life must be and what should we do with these bodies. So different do's and don'ts in some sense are, mentioned before these verses, before the verse we have seen today. And then it finally comes to like, okay, now you're given a human body. So what is the right way to use your human body and what you should not be doing? So that's why this simile or this analogy of this chariot is given. It starts in the previous verse of how the human body is, compared to this chariot and the different things we saw, right? Like the 10 life airs are, compared to the spokes of the wheel and such and so forth. So we'll delve a little deeper into this, moving on to the next slide. So this is, like I said, going to be very factual in some senses, and I've just tried to gather a few more details from Bhagavatam 3rd canto, and let's see what Prabhupada says here. Okay, the movements of the body are first generated from the heart. So all these movements, like we do so many movements, right? We blink our eyes, and when we're talking, we're moving our jawline. And not only that, there is food digesting in our stomach, and so many different, we are, evacuating, and there's so many things we're doing on a daily basis. There is a flow of blood in our body, continuous flow. And then we're breathing, sometimes we choke. So many different activities are happening. So the different kinds of air, they make these activities happen. And so Srila Prabhupada explains this in Canto 3. We'll briefly go through this just to understand, because Prabhupada has introduced these things in the purport. So it's important that we understand what he's trying to say here. The movements of the body are first generated from the heart, and all the activities of the body are made possible by the senses, powered by the 10 kinds of air within the body. The 10 kinds of air are described as follows. The main air passing through the nose in breathing is called prana. So the breathing is the air prana. So that is the main air which causes this. The air which passes through the rectum as evacuated bodily air is apana. So any of those, evacuating operations are actually regulated by this air called apana. The air which adjusts the food stuff within the stomach. So that is like kind of a balancing act, trying to do in the stomach, bringing all the acids and breaking down the food and kind of doing that. So that is samana. The air which passes through the throat and the stoppage of which constitutes suffocation is the udana. And the total air which circulates throughout the entire body, is called the vyana air. Subtler than these 5 airs, there are others also, like I mentioned earlier. That which facilitate the opening of the eyes, mouth, etc. is called naga air. The air which increases appetite is called krikara. So sometimes, we have a voracious appetite. And as devotees, I think as soon as we see prasadam, even if we have had a total, complete meal, you somehow feel hungry, right? So we can remember that the krikara air is actually doing these things to us. The air which helps contraction is called kurma. The air which helps relaxation by opening the mouth wide and yawning is called devadatta. And the air which helps sustenance is called dhananjaya. So when yawning, we can remember devadatta, right? A few things. I know it's a little technical, but let's try to remember a few things, what Prabhupada's trying to explain. So this is like, we'll be first discussing the literal meaning of, what this purport is talking about. And then let's delve into some of the practical explanations. And also Prabhupada draws our attention to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comments. There is this example of, the analogy or the simile of the bow and the arrow. It's given there. So how are we to understand, when we say that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the target? So usually, the picture, how we picture is a person on a chariot and who is carrying a bow and an arrow and he's trying to shoot at an enemy, right? That's what is the picture which comes to our mind. So the question arises, so is the Supreme Personality of Godhead an enemy of the living entity? So why is this being mentioned like that? So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that no, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the target or the goal of the living entity, and that's what we are trying to, we're trying to please the Lord, and we're trying to attain the love of Godhead or prema there. So in that sense, so the goal of the living entity is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's not in any inimical sense as we normally understand, like, you shoot a bow and arrow on an enemy to vanquish them like that. So it's not to be understood that way. And 2 examples are given, though it apparently looks like an inimical pastime, but then to understand that, even if we understood it as an inimical pastime, the pastime of Bhishma Deva fighting with Lord Krishna is mentioned to understand what is the rasa with which, or the mood with which the Lord interacts with the devotee, even if it apparently appears like as though the person is fighting with the Lord. So we'll just see what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says here. When Bhishma was fighting very fiercely, severely, Arjuna's chariot broke and he fell down. At that time, Krishna took one of the wheels of the chariot and approached Bhishma, who was piercing Krishna's body with arrows. Krishna accepted the arrows as more lovable than an offering of flowers. So the arrows felt like, flowers falling on the body of Krishna. So this is an example of the dealings between Krishna and his devotee Bhishma. It is a ghastly rasa. It appears very severe that Krishna was being pierced by arrows, but Krishna was feeling pleasure. And Prabhupada explains in one of his classes or conversations, how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur even further breaks this down. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained this exchange very nicely. He's given the example of kissing. Sometimes there's hard pressure of the teeth, but still it's pleasurable. Although Krishna was being pierced by the arrows of Bhishma Deva, still Krishna felt very pleased. And when Bhishma Deva was on his deathbed, he wanted to see the form Krishna displayed when he was very angry and was approaching Bhishma to kill him on the battlefield. So Prabhupada further says that we enjoy Krishna's loving service in many ways. The gopis enjoy serving Krishna by embracing him, and Bhishma enjoys serving him by piercing his body with arrows. So, all these are different rasas. Like Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita Sindhu, he is an ocean, Raso Vaisaha. So there are different rasas in which Krishna deals or interacts with his devotees. And I think there's also a brief mention in Canto 3, Canto 1, where a hint of Madhurya Rasa is given, where Bhishma is actually, throwing arrows on Krishna. So it can be considered that way. And then another example is given of, when Arjuna, he hits the fish's eye, so to speak, and he wins the hand of Draupadi. So it's not that it's going in vain, all the fighting. It is for a good purpose or for a larger purpose, like to gain something, so to speak. So these are two different ways, the acharyas have interpreted this bow and arrow scenario, the bow, arrow, and the target scenario for us. So the end point they're trying to make is that we don't see it as we don't see the Supreme Lord as an enemy, but as the goal or, the target of all our living or our sustenance. Everything we do must be aimed towards the Supreme Lord and for the satisfaction and for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So that's what they're trying to convey with these two examples. Let's move on further to see the concept of the goal, the bow, and the arrow. So the bow, or the actual, the gadget in one sense, used is the Om or the Pranava mantra or the Hare Krishna mantra. That's what Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. So the Pranava mantra Om or the Hare Krishna mantra. And then the arrow is the living entity. So using the bow, the living entity himself is shot towards the target, the Supreme Lord, Krishna. So what does this actually mean? The bow, the arrow, and the Supreme entity, Supreme Lord. Here we'll see, we'll try to break down what these targets are, what the bows are, and what the living entity does in each situation. So the targets can be mainly classified, as living entities. Like we said, we have different kinds of desires. So some may want some mental peace, something that attaining mental peace is the best thing in life. That's what I want from my life, to be mentally peaceful and happy. Some may think that I want a good situation in life, like a good material situation. I want a good grand house, or a good family life, a good job, or good education, or something like that. And then some other people may be aspiring for spiritual comfort or spiritual, they are searching for God. They're trying, like devotees basically, who are trying to please the Lord in different ways, and they understand that the supreme target is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in some sense, everybody has different goals or different needs or desires from their life. But in some sense, they all are the same in some sense, because everybody is trying to make, themselves feel happy or feel safe and secure in this life. But then like some people want to be very knowledgeable. They're acting on the mental platform, like they think, "Oh, I must get a good education, I must do like a PhD, or I must do some groundbreaking research in something." So they want to know and understand things, and at that level. So they find that something intellectual is what, it's better than just bodily comforts and things like that. So different people are operate on different levels, based on what they understand as their meaning of peace or fulfillment of their life. So Prabhupada explains that, the need of the soul is freedom. So every one, every living entity, he wants freedom, to be free in life, wants some loving relationship, and so on. But then in some sense, we see that everybody is trying to get some kind of happiness through life. So in that sense, we are all aiming for the same thing. But then it could be the ways or the means to achieve these things, could be different. Like, for example, devotees, they may think they want to please the Lord, and so they do all the activities, starting from morning, are dovetailed towards pleasing the Lord. But somebody who wants a nice, like bodily comfort, he or she tries to surround themselves with friends and family, and a good house, a great car, a great career, and things like that. And we also discussed, like, for somebody who wants to get some intellectual satisfaction from life, they go and study, go for higher studies, and try to go delve into more deeper research areas or things like that. So how we can see what kind of path a person is trying to go through by their activities. And so from the activities of a person, we can easily make it out that, okay, is this person trying to go for some mental comfort in life, or he or she is striving for some bodily, or trying to maintain just a good life with his body, or with his family or social needs and things like that, or if they are spiritually charged in that way. So when these different needs of the body, when they are not in sync, or so to speak, they don't match totally, that's where the complications arise. So when we in the process of trying to satisfy our bodily or mental comfort, we kind of sideline Krishna and totally forget our spiritual needs. At that time, there is an imbalance of things happening in the body, and then we encounter more problems, like we may get ill health, either mental stress, or like other diseases or things like that. So it's important to understand that an imbalance of these activities actually causes different kinds of situations for the human being. But does that mean that we totally destroy our desires, if we have some aspirations or anything like that? No, it does not mean that we should be totally desire free and just make ourselves totally cut off from everything and say that, hey, no, I'm not going to think of myself at all, I'm not going to think of any of my bodily comfort or mental comfort. But like Srila Prabhupada explains elsewhere, so we just do whatever is necessary to perform or to engage in good devotional service to the Lord. So we try to take care of needs to that point where we can actually offer this body. Like Prabhupada says, our body, we make the best use of a bad bargain. So we use this body and mind to offer services to Krishna. And so whatever is needed to do that, we try to make that, at least that level of comfort in our lives. So it's not that we're trying to totally obviate our desires or our personality, or trying to totally void ourselves. That's not the point. But the point is that we try to just like do so much. Like there was once this question, I was listening to a class where a devotee asked, so how do we know what point is a good point, how much I should strive for my that comfort, in which I can operate, and how much I should be doing for Krishna, like that. So where do I balance? So I was listening to a class by Her Grace Urmila Mataji, and she says that 10% of her activities typically can be, reserved for making a comfortable situation in that sense. Like, for example, for giving this class, for attending Bhakti Sangha Japa, the calls, we need like some device, right? Like a laptop or a phone or something which can which has access to internet, and so that we can gain this sublime knowledge, from so many different speakers who are so qualified at giving classes. So we need some things, right, to operate and to work on to actually engage in devotional service to the Lord. So 10% of our efforts can go in actually trying to maintain this kind of a situation where we are able to operate towards our goal of actually towards a goal of actually pleasing Krishna or engaging in devotional service to the Lord. So the other 90% should be aimed at actually doing something for the Lord. So it's not like we spend all our time thinking, hey, I can make $1 million and then, I'll be done for life. And then, but when you reach $1 million, maybe you have more desires. Okay, million, maybe a couple million, then I can give all that to Krishna. I made $1 million for myself, maybe another $1 million for the Lord and the devotees. So these desires, they keep going on and on and on. So we just need to, like she gave a ballpark figure there, 10% of our activities can be dedicated towards maintaining this kind of a comfortable situation. And then the 90% of the activities, we should be trying to make Krishna happy. So how do we do this? How do we reconcile to this fact that, I just give 10% of my time to these kind of activities? Will I be really in a comfortable position? So like I explained earlier, when we surrender to Krishna and when we try to act in devotional service to Krishna, all our needs are automatically taken care of, like how the parent takes care of all the child's needs. So sometimes when we have these questions like, do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Maybe it's worthwhile taking a moment to stop there and think that, am I really doing these things? I know, let me just surrender into what Krishna is trying to give me here. And maybe that'll give us that peace of mind that, okay, I don't want to think too much on these things. I'll limit myself to 10% of activities to make my situation comfortable. So having this attachment for Krishna, that surrender to Krishna and thinking that, okay, Krishna is taking care of my needs, is actually the threshold of devotional service. So we all actually, as living entities, we all have it for Krishna, but then we identify with the target. Like, for example, like I said earlier, we may think that having this comfortable life, family, friends, a big home, a car is something, I need to have. So we misidentify the target. And but then in some ways we can also say that, these are all the material energies of Krishna. So in that sense, we are again, in some sense, drawn towards some target of the energy of Krishna, though not directly Krishna. So we are drawn towards the material energy of Krishna. So when we are drawn towards this material energy of Krishna, we understand that the material things, our material life, is temporary and dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So at that time, if we associate too much with this, though it is the energy of Krishna, it gives rise to problems. So there are some people who, like, say, for example, people who do day trading or, invest in stocks and so on. So as much as the stock value goes up, their happiness level goes up. And if they see the stock prices going down, their level of happiness also, goes down. Like, you can see that the mood changes according as their investment value changes, like that. So different kind of people, like, even as devotees, when we try to look deeper into our hearts and see, from our activities, we'd be able to find out that what our actual interests are. I mean, is it even within ISKCON, even within devotional service, am I trying to gain some name or fame here? Am I really doing it for the pleasure of the Lord and the devotees? Or am I trying to, do it for some ulterior purpose, like, trying to make some social connections? Some people want, are looking for some social needs or desires, they want to fulfill, and then they go to the temple thinking it is some social party or something like that. So there are different kinds. So when we look into our activities, even in the devotional atmosphere, if we try to think deeply and if we try to look deeply into this, we will be able to understand what is our actual goal. Are we still focusing on the Lord? Are we still focusing on pleasing Lord Krishna, or is there any ulterior motive for our activities? So Prabhupada explains that the residents of Vrindavan, they had invested their hearts, minds, wealth, families in Krishna. So when Krishna was fighting Kaliya, you know, they were so petrified. I mean, they were so worried for Krishna that what happens if Krishna dies, if Kaliya kills Krishna. Like, they were very, very worried about that. It's just like how a person who's, I'd given the example of a person who had invested in stocks, like how he or she's worried, what happens if my stocks plummet, if they go down, what will happen to my life, like that. So when we see where our anxiety in life lies, we can easily be able to tell what our goal or target is. So if our anxiety is that, how will I wake up tomorrow and do Mangalarti or go for Mangalarti or chant my rounds, if our anxiety is that, then at least we are on the right track. We're trying to improve ourselves and we're trying to please the Lord. But if our anxiety is going to be, oh no, the neighbor has gotten, or my friend has, got 2 properties, maybe I should also invest in 1 more, so where our anxieties are, from there we can easily figure out what our target is or our goal is. So this arrow, next, moving on to from the targets, the bow, yeah. So we saw the target is always Krishna. We have seen that because maybe it could be the material energy of Krishna, or if in the actual sense, when a devotee surrenders to Krishna, it's Krishna himself. So so the target is always Krishna, but then I mean, like, some people are more geared towards the material energy and some towards the spiritual energy. So the bow is the instrument, or that is the device which propels the living entity towards Krishna. And then the bow, or the device, is mentioned here as the Om, or the Pranav mantra Om, or the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And so let's try to see what this Maha Mantra is, like, we have seen in the different cantos, like I think in the earlier cantos, in Canto 3, there is some description of how sound is a very, very important aspect of a living entity's existence. Like, through sound is where the actual transcendental knowledge flows into the into the living being. So like that. So let me try to grab a few a few of these points from different purports of Prabhupada I've collected here, and let's read through that and see what Prabhupada says. Krishna is the sound in either. All sounds are ultimately Krishna, but when, instead of vibrating Krishna's name, we vibrate sounds covered by material energy, this shoots to the target of Krishna's material energy. So when we are, instead of taking Krishna's name, our mind is constantly thinking of something else, like, giving the stock example, trying to think of stocks and trying to, hey, will my stock go up or go down? Will this be beneficial, or will this, work for me? So when instead of the Om mantra, if we are going to give our thoughts to this sound, so when I say thoughts and sound, I will go a little deeper what I mean by that. So when we divert all our energies towards thinking about, how I can make my life situation come to, or make more money, so at that time we throw ourselves towards towards the material energy of Krishna, and not towards Krishna, because our thoughts, the bow is propelling us exactly towards that material energy, because we are taking the help of these kind of materialistic thoughts, which is like, I want to make more money or whatever that is. So we are propelled towards the material energy of Krishna. But then when we take shelter of the Om or the Pranav mantra or the Hare Krishna mantra, we are propelled, as we are the arrows in this analogy, and we are propelled towards the transcendental form of Krishna. We are propelled towards Krishna. So depending on the bow or the sound form, the bow is compared, to the sound here, the Om or the Pranam mantra. So depending on what sound form we take shelter of, we either we target ourselves, we throw ourselves at the material energy of Krishna or at the transcendental, form of Krishna in devotional service, like that. So in that sense, there is some mention of the different forms of sound. I said that, remember, I said that, when we think of more on the material realm, trying to make ourselves a peaceful life, I said even those thoughts are a form of sound. So I thought, let's delve a little deeper into what these, what Vedas or what Srimad Bhagavatam says of sound, this form of sound. It's also called Vak, and it is explained that it is in 4 phases. 3 of these forms of sound are internal, and 1 form of sound is external. And this is the reference to this verse where this thing is explained. I'll not be going too deep into this, into the meaning, into the different phases, but just to understand, that even our thoughts are actually sound forms. We will try to understand what are the different kinds of sounds here. So the prana phase, it's called the para sound, and it is situated in the Adhara chakra. The Adhara chakra is somewhere in the, the lower part of the body, the area. And then this para sound is, in some senses, completely transcendental. And then there is this, the most grossest form of sound, like now I'm talking and there are words coming out of my mouth. So, and this is like the grossest form of sound, and it is called Vaikhari sound. So which we use to actually communicate, right? So now there is, like you can hear me speaking, I can hear you speaking. So this conversational, and the grossest form of sound is this at this conversational level where we speak actual words, there's a language and things like that. And then one level, so that is the grossest, and one level higher to that, a little bit subtler than that, is the madhyama sound, or form of the sound, or the sound which is situated in the heart area. And this is, Prabhupada defines this as our mental thoughts and things like that. Like we are trying to think, hey, I want to do this today. Today, maybe I'll make this bhoga for Krishna. Or today, maybe, I'll just make a garland. These mental thoughts that come in our mind. And that is at a madhyama, so these are in a state of wakefulness. And this is called at a madhyama level, and this sound form is situated in the heart area. And if you're not getting any of this, you may, please don't get perturbed. And why this Om or Pranava sound is so important for us to, reach our target of Krishna. Because if we resort to some other sound, material sound, or the gross form of sound, then we'll be aiming ourselves towards the material energy of the Lord. And then there is the mental phase at which the sound level is called Pashyanti. And this is, it's explained by Prabhupada as something which is recognized by yogis, so to speak. So Prabhupada also defines this as something at the intellectual level, where a person is able to make discrimination of different things in life. So somebody at a more advanced transcendental level, who is able to make distinctions and discrimination. So typically yogis, it's almost getting to the transcendental level, but it's not there yet. And then para is the transcendental, form of the sound. It does not belong to the material world, like the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Om Pranav mantra, though it embodies all these 4 different forms, but it is at situated at a transcendental level. So these are different so many more details are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but let's keep it brief here, just trying to understand that, how sound is a means for us to liberate ourselves. And if we don't invest in the right form of sound, the transcendental sound, we are aiming ourselves as target towards the material energy of Krishna. So that's why these different forms of sound and things are mentioned here in this purport. And so using our body, our mind, and our thoughts, like the arrow, we are supposed to invest in the sound of pranava or Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and try to reach the goal or the target of Krishna, and not try to get swayed or diverted to his material energies like that. So that is what Srila Prabhupada or our acharyas are trying to convey through this verse here. Though it's a little technical, I'm sorry if it is the sound part was a little putting off, but I tried my best to make it as simple, but please forgive me if it got a little too technical there. I would like to close with a quote of Srila Prabhupada here. I thought this is very relevant to our discussion. In the transcendental loving service of the Lord, it doesn't matter whether we are working, cooking, painting, writing, chanting, or whatever they are, all the same. There are no such distinctions of higher and lower on the transcendental platform. The important thing is that we are engaging our time and energy in the service of the Lord. After all, we are so tiny. What can we do? Krishna sees simply that this time is being spent in his service. So whatever we try to do, like, nate vidhu swarthagatim he Vishnu. So we should try to understand that whatever we're trying to do, even though it could be, like Prabhupada says here, dovetailing each of our activities, like we're working or cooking or painting or writing, under the shelter of an acharya. So the next few verses, I don't want to give it away too much, we'll discuss, okay, so I recognize what sound is and what I should be doing, but how I should be doing it, like we need to take shelter of the acharya. So what exactly are the enemies, I should be trying to target in life and trying to vanquish or to conquer or to destroy? So all those different things will be discussed in the later verses. After verse 42, there'll be discussions on what the actual enemies are. Though, the goal or the target is mentioned as the Supreme Lord, he's not our enemy. He's our goal. He's our, whom we're trying to reach. So what actually are the enemies, and what should we be doing with this bow and arrow? Who should be, who we should be vanquishing, and things like that will be discussed in the following verses. So with that Prabhupada's quote, I would like to pause here, and please forgive me if I confused any of you, and also please feel free to correct me if I made any mistakes. I'm sure there may be a few here and there. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Sukha-sagari Mataji. Thank you so much for the beautiful class. Very grateful to you, Mataji. Thank you so much. At the end, I like the Prabhupada quote and everything that you shared, Mataji. Also, you have given us glimpse of what next verses are coming up. Thank you. And I really like the summary that you have told in the beginning. You were telling, okay, it's for me. It's for me also, Mataji, because it's sometimes it is needed what we are doing. We get confused because, and also we forget things what we have already learned. Thank you so much for that revision, Mataji. Very grateful to you. Preeti Mataji, please go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Sukha-sagari Mataji. Very, very interesting class. I like first of all, about how Srila Prabhupada mentions about these different airs and how it is centralized in the region of the heart. And from the region of the heart, how it is controlling all our activities. And each of these airs you described in great detail, their function. So it was very interesting to see how much air is so important within the body, not only outside the body, but within the body. The movement of the air is controlling a lot of our life. And probably that's why, like, in Ayurveda also, this controlling of the air becomes so important, so pertinent, like the Vata, Pitta, and all that, right? So these different elements, how they function so heavily inside the body. That's what I was thinking when you just started off the class. And
And that's why I also think, Preeti, there's a lot, sorry, I interrupted you. There's a lot of buzz about pranayama and yoga, and people are into breathing, different techniques.
right,
You're
right.
right.
Very true. Yeah, it does. And that's why many of these yogic schools, but the things, of course, they just stop with breathing. They don't go advance further. But still, it does make a big impact on the body. Yeah. And the other thing, the analogy of the bow and the arrow, that is actually so beautiful. I never like how you were mentioning that it may appear like as if we are shooting the Lord, but that's not the point. He's the goal. Yeah, he should be the goal. And a very nice point you mentioned is what am I getting most worried about? What am I getting most stressed about? That is actually the goal in my mind, right? Yeah, so much
Or
to,
at least interim goal, if not.
yeah.
Even as devotees, we do tend, right, to have, oh, okay, I need to drop off my daughter at school today. These thoughts do run, in our mind. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so true, right? How our mind can be so tricky. And yeah, that's what happens to everybody. And yeah, so much to think about, Mataji. A lot of food for thought. Thank you so much for making the class so intriguing. Very grateful to you, Mataji. I won't say I understood everything, but then whatever I could follow, I found it very, very interesting. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, I'm not a good preacher, maybe,
No,
not.
no, 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 no. It's just the concept, grasping a concept. That's all. You are a good preacher only, Mataji. What are you talking?
I wish I could make it more simple and understandable.
It was very nice, Mataji.
Thank you. All grace to Shishi Guru and Gaurav and Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Priti Vilasni Mataji. We have a couple more hand raised. Sindhu Rao Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Nitya Gandharvika Mataji, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Hare Krishna, Sukha-sagari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Very, 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 very beautiful class. I am so stunned at the different, Bhagavatam sections that you've pulled in to get this class. I have two questions, Mataji. One is, when you said we are aiming at the energy of Krishna instead of Krishna, will that decide the destination? Is that what you mean? When we are chanting or when we are doing service or the desires, the aim is whatever service we are doing or what intentions we have in life, right? So does that decide the destination where I go?
Yes, Mataji, like the bow and the pranam mantra. So if we are doing devotional service to Krishna, so we will be attaining our actual goal, which is being trying to explain in this verse. The goal should be Krishna. Like starting from verse 41, in these set of verses, like if it'll go down further too, and at least the next 5-6 verses or till the end of the chapter, we're trying to see like I said, this part of Bhagavatam segues into how we can use this human body to actually reach the goal of Krishna. Like our goal should be Krishna in life. So what I meant was, when we are concentrating, like I said, the subtle form of sound, when mentally I'm thinking, oh, I need to get a house, a car, or get a good career, like that, we are not actually concentrating on Krishna, right? Not on the service to Krishna, but on some material things, material desires of want. So at that time, this thoughts, even our thoughts and these activities, they are also a subtle form of sound. Like it is the second madhyama level sound. That's what I was trying to explain, the different levels of sound. So even when those, so these thoughts are these will be the bow, the materialistic thoughts will be the bow which will propel us towards the material goals in life, right? Like the material energy of Krishna, because everything is the energy of Krishna. But then the house or the car or career, those are like the material energy of Krishna. So when we are not are not resorting to the spiritual sound form or the Om or the Pranam mantra or the Hare Krishna mantra, we are actually propelling ourselves with the bows of the other thoughts, the materialistic thoughts in our mind, which are a subtle form of sound. So that propels us towards the material energy of Krishna. So that's what.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Very well explained. And I think I got the point. I think you kind of answered my second question, but I'll still go ahead and ask. The different levels you mentioned about the mantra, right? Or the sound vibration, the Vaikarika, Madhyama, and Pashyanti, and Para, I think, right? So the Hare Krishna Mahamantra that we chant, it is in para level, but does it depend on the person who is chanting at which level they are, or irrespective of that, because it is para shakti or the para sound, it doesn't matter, it will take you to that destination, or it will take you there? Does it depend on, for example, when we are chanting, we just chant it as just words, right, sometimes, and that is actually at Vaikarika, according to what you said. Does the benefit still be at Vaikarika at that point, or because the para mantra is so superior and so spiritual, will it still take you to a spiritual world?
Yes, Mataji. So this, though, we chant, when you said we are chanting at the Vaikarika level, but this Om or the Pranam mantra or the Hare Krishna mantra is at the Paral. It's a transcendental form of sound. And Srila Prabhupada actually explains it. Maybe I forgot to read this thing I had gathered. He says that the Pranava or the syllable Om is the complete representation of the 4 stages of sounds and their existential counterparts. So, like you rightly said, though externally it may appear like, we're just mouthing it off or like that, but it is actually a complete representation of all the 4 stages. That's what Srila Prabhupada is explaining here in one of his purports. So, yes, it does have its transcendental effect. And when we do chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, though, our mind might be wandering here and there, but the effect of the mantra is going to be there, and it's going to take us towards our target of Krishna or devotional service to Krishna. Though, if it's mixed with other thoughts, like I said, we may be shooting off a little bit around, like when the target, at the outer rings of the target, like that, a little bit, but it'll get closer to Krishna as we get into Shuddha Nama, like that. So.
Thank you, Mataji. Excellent session, excellent answers. Please do give your association in classes or in the future as well. Like you said, you're not a teacher. You don't have to be. You're actually a preacher, whether you think or not, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your kind words. All goes to Shri Guru and Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sindhara Mataji, for the beautiful question. Hare Krishna, Sonali Mataji, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Sorry, I joined very late today, and it was about that bow and arrow thing was going on. So I don't know if it was covered earlier, but Mataji also asked this beautiful question. It is a part of my question. So I was just saying the same thing, that like even throughout the Bhagavad Gita, throughout the purport, Prabhupada had given so much stress on the consciousness, with what consciousness we are chanting and doing this work. But I'll talk about myself. It becomes like you keep on doing mechanically, or doing the activities also, even if it is a Krishna conscious activities, chanting also, sometimes we don't put so much heart into it, or like thoughts behind it, and we always think that like once the initiation is done, now Brahmin initiation is done, now Krishna and Guru will take all the responsibility. Like Prabhupada used to say that, hold on my dhoti. So we are thinking that by just following few instructions, we are just doing our our part is done. But Mataji, I was listening to your lecture and part of it, and I realized that like it's a lot on our side also, because we had been missing the target because our consciousness is not properly placed, and we don't try from our side to change the way we think that automatically I'll become, compassionate, automatically I'll become this, that. But these qualities, to develop that, we have to also work towards it. So I wanted your comment on that. Is it true, or it's like it's automatically taken care of? Because
Yes,
um,
you are. Sorry, Mataji, go ahead.
no, because years and years after doing also, I don't see that much progress, because I think that, like, from my side, there should be a lot more to be done. But that feels like sometimes ego, because we can't do it, and when you keep that ego aside, then we just leave it on Krishna and we don't do our part at all, and we feel that, like, okay, progress will happen. So which one is the right way of thinking? Yeah, thank you.
So, Mataji, like you rightly said, our role is also equally important. Like I've heard senior devotees say this, because even as a practicing devotee, even I don't know if I can call myself a devotee, as an aspiring devotee. I can, we get these questions time to time. And what one senior devotee told me was that we need to fly our own plane. Nobody can do it for us. So yes, we need to make the necessary steps. And this is Krishna consciousness. So consciousness is something, like you rightly said, we need to be conscious. We need to be aware of what we're doing. And as much as possible, limit our activities, the other activities, and focus more on Krishna. Easier said than done, I do admit. But yeah, in some senses, Mataji, this was the other question I had asked some senior devotees too, like you rightly said, I'm not at that pure level of chanting or any pure level of anything, so to speak. So what's actually happening to my devotional life? Am I even making progress? Am I doing anything? So one comforting thing I heard from senior devotees is that the very fact that we are trying to please Krishna, though we may be doddering as a child, who's trying to walk, they may, rise and fall somewhere, they may get hurt, they may do this and that. But a loving parent is seeing that, they're making so much effort to walk, and ultimately they do walk. So similarly, Krishna is that loving parent to us, and he's all forgiving and all supportive of our actions. So he's just seeing, like, okay, even sometimes, definitely my chanting has so much wanting, and there's like so much I need to improve. But then, okay, at least I'm trying to stick to that 16 rounds in a day. I'm trying to, by force or whatever means, I'm trying to do it. So Krishna just sees the effort that we are taking to get closer towards him, and he does appreciate that. That's what the senior devotees also, just the effort that, okay, in spite of the fact that I'm not doing good rounds, but still I go ahead and chant the next day, thinking, okay, next day would be a better day for me. So similarly, trying to push ourselves, to that level where we say, okay, I'm not doing a good job, but I'm not going to give up either. I'm not going to go into a depressed state of mind and think, oh, this is not giving me anywhere. Instead of thinking that way, just thinking that, oh, Krishna is all loving, he's going to take care. Someday I will reach there, like that. And Krishna is he's bhavagrahi janardhana. So very kind and loving, like, I'm sure he reciprocates with
Mm.
his devotees in different ways. So that's what, and also the example, like of the how Yashoda Maya, when she was trying to tie up Krishna to the ukal, to the mortar, to the grinding stone, sorry. So it's explained by the acharyas that, not only our effort, but Krishna's mercy is also needed, like that. But so both the things
Mm.
go in parallel. So we also need to put the effort. It does not just happen like that out of thin air, no. I mean, if it were to, then there wouldn't be so many books, right? Explaining
Yeah,
what
yeah,
varnas and ashramas and why we need to have
yeah.
regulated life, why we need to do
Mm.
these things. What do you do in the morning? What do you do in the afternoon? Prabhupada has given a
Mm.
whole system, right? Why? I mean, because
Yeah, yeah.
we need to regulate, we need to do these things so that, our mind
Mhm.
can focus towards Krishna. So that's how I understand.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mataji. Because I sometimes think that, like, we are so much dependent on his mercy that, like, we are cheating ourselves by saying that, oh, I'm doing enough for Krishna. But we are not. Like Yashoda Maya tried so much, and after seeing her effort, Krishna extended that hand. But, like, just after doing, like, just some part from our side, we feel that, like, okay, Krishna will do the rest. And
Yeah,
So
Mataji,
that's
you're right that way though. Like they say
yeah,
that if we take one step towards Krishna, he takes 1,000 towards it. So we can never do anything for Krishna, but he does 1,000
yeah,
times more for us. So you're right.
yeah. Yeah, we are just warming up. We are not even taking a step, and we are expecting that like he will pick me up. So I every day feel that like I'm cheating to myself, that like saying that I'm a devotee and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm so, but either that because I saw that bow and arrow example, it came to thought of sharing. Thank you so much, Mataji. Wonderful class. Really nice class. Thank you.
All goes to Shri Guru and Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Sukha-sagari Mataji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful answer. I have a chat messages, Mataji. Hagre Sundarangi Radha Mataji is saying, thank you, Mataji,
Yeah,
for the
Mataji,
wonderful class.
so kind of
Mataji,
you.
I am reading because YouTube devotees also will
Oh,
be
okay.
knowing what's happening here. Manjari Leela Mataji is saying, Hare Krishna Mataji, I have to drop soon. I wanted to just say your class was just super and amazing. Gave me a feeling of just peace. By the way, you even speak, Mataji. Your classes are always very soothing, even in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thank you for your association. Please give us your association. And Vrinda Gopika Mataji is also saying beautiful class, and she also need to leave, I think. Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji, once again for such a beautiful class coming on the early morning. And I know you have a lot of services. Still, you have accepted the class and you came for all of us. Thank you so much. Very grateful to you. Okay, devotees, any more last minute questions, any realizations? Please go ahead. Okay, Lalitangi Mataji saying wonderful class. Rishopnishad Mataji saying thank you so much, Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम। श्रील प्रभुपाद श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, गोपीनाथ की जय। यस माता जी, आपका चैतन्य चरणामृत क्लास भी इतना हार्ट से, कौन कहता है कि आप नहीं प्रीच कर सकते, वो हृदय से आप बताते हैं कृष्ण कथा। माता जी, बाय द परमिशन ऑफ सीनियर वैष्णव, कैन यू प्लीज सिंग वन भजन? श्री गौर पूर्णिमा इज कमिंग, प्लीज माता जी।
Vinita, do we have time?
Yeah, Mataji. Yes, we have time, Mataji. You can sing, Mataji. Yeah.
Let
But
me.
you have time, Mataji?
Yeah. Today I don't have any.
Okay,
topic.
Please go ahead, Mataji. You can sing, Mataji.
Yeah, I'll try to sing this short bhajan. This is for both Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Without Nityananda Prabhu, we cannot get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let me quickly share the screen so everybody can see the bhajan. So this is Janu Lambita Bahu Jugala, and this author is Vrindavan Das Thakur, and it's from the book Chaitanya Bhagavat. So let's try to sing this bhajan. जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल जानुलंबित बाहुयुगल कनलपूतलि देहा अरुणांबर शोभित कलेवर उपमा देय बगा काहा उपमा देय बकाहा हास विमला बयान कामला पीन हृदय साजे उन्नत गीमा सिंहजनिया उदार विग्रह राजे उदार विग्रह राजे जानुलंबित बाहुयुगला कनलपूतलि देहा अरुणाम्बर शोभितकलेवर उपमा देयब काहा उपमा देयब काहा चरण नाखर उजोर शशधर कनया मंजरी शोहे हेरि दीनमणि आपना नीचये रूपे जग मन मोहे रूपे जग मन मोहे कलियुगे रवतरा चैतन्य नीताय पाप पाषंड नहीं माने श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य ठाकुर नित्यानंदा वृंदावन गुण गाने वृंदावन गुण गाने जानुलंबित बाहुयुगल कनल पूतली देहा अरुणांबर शोभित कलेवर उपमा देयब काहा उपमा देयब काहा जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय Mataji, we will please read the translation to understand what we just sang now. Anybody would like to read? Any devotees are inspired?
Iti Mataji raised her hand.
Okay, Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sukha-sagari Mataji. It was so beautiful. Very, very beautiful, Mataji. Thank you. His arms extend to the knees and he appears to be like a golden dawn. His form is adorned with a cloth that has the color of the rising sun. His beauty is incomparable. Induleka?
Hare Krishna, his magnanimous form shines brightly with a beautiful smile radiating from his lotus like face. His large and prominent chest and broad shoulders are even more majestic than a lion's. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Vali Mataji.
Vali Mataji.
Mataji, are you there?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji, I'm there.
Okay.
Actually, I can't see the screen. My phone is smaller, so
Oh, sorry.
I'm looking at my phone. So
Okay. I don't know how to see this.
yeah. Okay, someone other can take. Actually, I have
Yeah.
it. So
Okay. His toenails are brighter than the full moon, and golden ankle bells adorn them, saying his exquisite beauty to be more brilliant than the sun. The entire world becomes enchanted. Vardhana Mataji.
The incarnation of the age of Kali are Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Without considering whether one is sinful or miscreant, they distribute their mercy. Vrindavan Dasa sings glory of these two personalities. He is worshipable Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Haribo. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to, I think this is a good meditation for the day, to, think of, even if one is sinful or a miscreant, we can try to follow the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu and beg for their mercy, Mataji. Thank you so much to all the devotees.
Thank you, Mataji, for beautiful bhajan. Very grateful to you, Mataji. There are some more chat messages here. I would like to read. Induleka Mataji saying, thank you so much for this beautiful class. The topic is very technical. You have explained so systematically. Dandavat Pranam. Yes, Mataji, topic was technical. Yes, Mataji made it very easily. Lalita Mataji and Dinabandhu Prabhu is saying, Dear Sukha Mataji, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, dear, for such an insightful and fresh presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam.
I am somewhat stunned by your clarifying that our thoughts are the form of sound. I immediately felt a deeper understanding why I should be more and more determined to realize myself from at least minimizing unnecessary destruction, not ending at the target of our dear Lord Krishna. Thank you so much. Very grateful to you, Lalita Mataji and Dinabandhu Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you, Mataji. And Vrinda Gopika Mataji is thanking you for the bhajan too. Thank you, Mataji. Any more questions? Any realizations? Vali Mataji, you want to say something?
Yeah, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam Mataji. Very, very wonderful class. Actually, there is a saying I remember after your lecture, like Sone pe Suhaga or something, right? When there is your class is like golden and there is a smell of this beautiful bhajan in the end. It is like Sone ke upar Suhaga, like it is gold with beautiful fragrance. So, and I think it's, yeah. And I have a beautiful class about this Vayu and Vak also, right? Different forms and how it is generated. And one more question I have is when you do the Naivedyam, right? We do this Upana, Samana, all these Vayus. When you say Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha after that. So why the Vayu names come when you do the Nivedan?
Yes, Mataji, that is another aspect. I didn't want to, like I said, there are so many details, regarding the sound, how it operates at different levels. Like you said, let me try to grab that part where the Bhuva Swaha, that part is mentioned, Mataji, like you mentioned. I didn't want to go into too well, it just gets too technical, Mataji. Let me try there. But there are discussions, like you rightly mentioned, Mataji.
Because we do that regularly and doing without knowing the meaning, that is something like I always feel by the mantra and it is only compared with this Vayus.
Yeah, Mataji, 1 second. Let me try to find. It is there. I was reading about it too, but I didn't go into details on that one. Yeah. 1 second. Yeah. In terms, okay. Let me read a few things which are mentioned here. This is from one, it's like compilation from Prabhupada's purpose. Paravak is the transcendental sound. Paravak is also known as Rava Shabda, an unvibratory condition of sound beyond the reach of mind and intelligence, avyakta, only to be realized by great souls, Paramanyanis. On the stage of Paravak, there is no distinction between the object and the sound. The sound contains within it all the qualities of the object. In the terms of universal cosmology, Vaikhari, Madhyama, and Pashyanti correspond respectively to the Bhu, Bhuva, and Swaha. The Parashabda ultimately corresponds to the Lord's Tripada Vibhuti. And then there is more details, Mataji. The Sthula Sharira or physical body operates in the state of Jagrat, wakeful state. It is in this realm of consciousness and through this body that the Vaikari Vak is manifested. The Sukshma Sharira, subtle or psychic body, operates in the state of Swapna. It is in this realm of consciousness and through this body that the Madhyama Vak is manifested. The Karana Sharira or the causal body, operates in the state of susupti or deep sleep. It is in this realm of consciousness and through this body that the Pashyanti Vak is manifested. The Paravak is manifested through the fourth state of consciousness known as Turiya. The sacred syllable Om is composed of 3 mantras, namely A, O, Ma. These 3 mantras correspond respectively to Bhubhuva and Swaha. Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti, Sukshma, Sthula, and Karana, and Vaikhari, Madhyama, and Pashyanti. So there are different ways of categorization, like you said, Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha, then the different stages of the Sharira, like Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti, different states, and then the actual Shariras, the physical body, or, the subtle body, Sukshma, Sthula, and Karana. And then like the different forms of sound, Vaikari, Madhyama, and Pasha. So respectively to different categories. This is what is explained, Mataji. I don't know if it's just too technical.
Yeah. I know, but the way it is connected to the Vayu and Vak, that is something we can never imagine also. And the reason why we do that mantra while offering the bhoga, that's also very technical, Mataji.
So true, Mataji. Maybe you know better than me. I'm just reading.
No, I'm reading also from. We have the same thing in Lalita Sahasranama also. Pashyanti Paradevata Madhyama Vaikhari Rupa Bhakta Manasa Hamsika. Like in the minds of bhaktas, she is moving like Hamsa. Hamsa means so the elevated level of people, right? They only know, they only can understand this thing. So that's from that also I'm connecting and seeing both speak the same actually. So where is the verse, Mataji, where you are reading from? Can I get that?
This is, I can send you a link. This is from ISKCON website, Mataji. I will try to send you the link. Veda.Krishna. I'll just put it in the chat. You can read more about this, Mataji.
Sure.
Who's Googled it? Where's the chat? 1 second, I will. So this is the link, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you, Sukha-sagari Mataji. Thank you so much.
Krishna.
Thank you, Vali Mataji, for the beautiful question. And Shivani Mataji is also saying very beautiful class and very beautiful bhajan. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining. Harita Mataji is also thanking for the beautiful class, Mataji. We will end the call here. I would like to offer my obeisances to Sukha-sagari Mataji and all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya
कृपा सिंधुभ्यो पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद
जय
Sukha-sagari Mataji ki
जय।
jai.